Right. So we're learning about the life and the afterlife of Rabbi Shimon. Then we learned how Rabbi Shimon was even greater than Rebbe. So when Rebbe wanted to um, suggest that he marry Rabbi Shimon's almana, she said, "I don't think so. You're a lightweight, and I'm not going to allow myself, who was the wife of Rabbi Shimon, to now be married to a lightweight." Now, the Gemara illustrated that Rabbi Elazar Shimon was greater in learning than Rebbe, because when he was placed back off the benches onto the floor with Rebbe, he felt, just because he's on the floor, why should I be on the floor? He was bothered by it, and because of that, whenever Rebbe would attempt to ask him a catch on something that he said, Rabbi Elazar would say, "Stop! I already know what you're thinking. I know what you're asking. So to visit your kasha, so he would say, so when Rebbe was told of Rabbi Elazar, he felt bad. So he ran to his father, who was the Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and his father said, "You know what? He might be right. He was like, he's a Nari ben Ari. He knows so much more. You know why? Because he actioned so much Torah from his father. You might be a big Talmid Chacham, but you're stuck with me as your father," Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says. "I'm an Ari ben Shmuel." So you see what a great honor of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel was. The Amar Rebbe Shloishan on the son and Hain, there were three Anovim. The Eloin Abba, my father, referring to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel because of the comments that he made over here. Ubenei B'Seira, who Rashi tells us, even though they were in the Siyam, but when they heard how great Hillel was, they gave up their posts and they came to be Hasidim of Hillel. And Yonasan ben Shaul, who we know, he was going to be the king. He was the son of Shaul, yet he was happy to rally behind David HaMelech. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Hadu Amara, the story we just said. They put Hillel Barosh, Uminu Lanasi Aleim. And Yonasan ben Shaul, the Gomer of David, he told David HaMelech, V'yata Timlech al Yisrael, you'll be the king of Ani Eyelecha, the Mishnah. Frank Gemara, how do you see from these other two stories that there's such an oven? Mimai, Dilma Yonasan ben Shaul, the Chazud the Gar al Mabasa David, he already saw that David HaMelech had the popular vote. So he already saw that David HaMelech was popular by Klal Yisrael, so he figured, you know what? I might as well get behind him, because I'm not winning this one. And that's why he did it. But who said it was Anivas? And B'nai B'Seira, Nami, the Chazi Hill, the other Finayu. Rashi says they were asked shilas. They weren't able to answer them. And then Hill answered those shilas. So they felt foolish. So why should they make fools out of themselves? Let's just go to Hill. Ella Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Vaday and Vasan Hava. Okay, so we may not have such a raya from B'nai B'Seira, from Yonasan ben Shaul, but we'll all agree that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel was in fact a great honor. Rebbe said, Chavivin Yisurim. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar liked Yisurim, so he also decided he wants Yisurim. I don't know, maybe after he was rejected by Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar ben Shimon's wife and says, my husband's a bigger tzaddik than you, he was Makabal Yisurim, so maybe Rebbe said, Chavivin Yisurim. Kibul Alei, he accepted upon himself, Tleiser Shni, 12 years of, Tleiser's 12 or 13? Tleiser's 13, right? 13 years of Yisurim. Shis b'tzmirasa. 6, Rashi says that would be a bladder stone. Even shebemokim ketanim. I would say that it's a bladder stone. V'sheva b'tzaparna, and 7 with Rashi describes as canker sores. They are pretty painful, but chayli shebesoich hapeh u'shmoi mushka. So I'm not sure what it is, but maybe it's sores in the mouth, I think is how the Likutei Rashi explains it. Mushka.
Mouth disease.
Thrush. Yeah, so thrush basically is your mouth that's full of sores, like canker sores. Okay, so Zok the Gemara, the Amar Law, there are those who say Shiva b'tzmirasa, it was 7 years with bladder stones, the Shis b'tzaparna is only 6 with canker sores. Ahuraire is a position, it's the person who's in charge of the stables of the Rebbe. He was so wealthy, have an usher mishmor malka. He was even richer than Shmor Malka. Tosfos says, Mizabel be'moisav shel Rebbe, ki the Ashkanami be'merabah. I'm sorry, not Mizevel be'moisav shel Rebbe. In other words, the Rebbe had so many animals that they produced so much zevel, he was the biggest supplier of manure to Home Depot because he had access to all that. As the Gemara quotes, or Tosfos quotes from the Medrash, Zevel b'hei Moshev shel Yitzchak v'loy kasboi v'zahavoi shel Avimelech. You're better off with all of the zevel that the animals of Yitzchak produced than having the cash of Avimelech. That's how wealthy they were. Oh, Mazel Tov, Avigdor. You have lots of nachas. So Zok to Gemara. Ahurari devei Rebbe have an Oser Mishvar Baka. He was very wealthy. Katavirami kisses alachiyusa. When he would put out the feed to the animals, can you imagine how much noise animals make when you put out feed? They're running for the food. The noise from the animals you can hear 3 mil, which is like over a mile away. He would always make sure to create this noise by feeding the animals. The Rami Bahishaited the Ayel Rebbe Levesakise. He always made sure to do it when Rebbe went to the Besakise. That's where he had his extreme pain. Rebbe's pain was so great that he was crying out so loud from his pain that his pain was still louder than the noise that all these animals made. And even people who were on the ocean, people who were on cruise ships, they were hearing this noise. The Yisum of Rabbi Elazar B'Shimon were greater than that of Rebbe. The Rabbi Elazar B'Shimon may have a bow, may have a hoch. The Yisum Shalava, which the Gemara tells us, the Mashal tells us, they come, but they don't cause bittul Torah. And that's why Rabbi Elazar B'Shimon was able to take leave of them every morning. But the Rebbe, they were not Yisum Shalava, they came as an oynish for something that Rebbe was over, and therefore they didn't leave every morning, but at a later date, when he was Misakin Avera, yes, then they also started leaving in the morning. What occurred that would lead to Rebbe getting such horrible Yisurim? Mahi, the who Agola or Egla, there was a little calf. They were shechting it, somebody wanted veal. So what did it do? It tried to hide under the rekel of Rebbe. Also told the Reishe, the Kamfid Rebbe, tried to hide, in Rebbe's kapata. Or maybe it was a beketche. The kabachi, and the animal was crying, save me, I don't want to die. Amalei, Rebbe said, Zil, go to the Shechita. Lekach no sarto, that's what you were created for. Amri, hoil v'loy kamarachum, since you're not merachim on this animal, leisi ala yisur, and you should have yisur. So let's stop for a second. Is it true that the animal is lekach no sarto? So the Marshal tells us not necessarily. Yes, at the end of the day, every animal going to get checked. But most cows, they're made to plow with, they're made to work with. So, not lekach no sarto. Right now, we should save you. Right now, you should be able to fulfill what most animals do your age. Eventually, you go to shechita. So that was considered a little bit of a coldness, and therefore, leisha yisurim. It's mashma Amri. Who's Amri? It's mashma that the Gemara tells us a moment ago. Rebbe was makabel it on himself, but it's mashma that it had to do with Shemayim as well. Like I'm not sure exactly how that worked out. Amri hoyel v'loy kamarachim leisha yisurim. What does the article say? Who's Amri? Who said that? Shemayim said it. Yeah, Shemayim said it. But I thought Rebbe brought Yisur on himself, so I guess they were working together. And there was a Maisa that occurred that then made it back into Yisurim Shalava, so it left every morning. Yom Echad, this is what the Mashaf says. Yom Echad Havaka Kancha Amte the Rebbe Besa. Rebbe's maid was sweeping out the house. Now, this is a fascinating story. They were little baby weasels there. In other words, imagine your goita is sweeping the house and there's some mice there. I had a customer who told me, Joe, make sure to seal every hole you make in my house when you put anything through like pipes, because no house in the world is big enough to contain me and a mouse, right? So here, she found some baby mice rolling around. It's weasels, Rashi says. The chachon shalu, she was about to sweep him out. Amallah, Rebbe said, Shavkinu, leave him there. Don't throw him out. I wonder what Rebbe's wife had to say about this. But Rebbe said, leave him there. Omri, so they said, I guess Shemaim said, Hoylu Merachem, Nerachem Alei. We'll be Merachem upon him. And I believe that the Mashal says at that point, the Yisurim came at night and left them. Kul Shnei, Yisuri Rabbi Lazar. In the schos of the Yisurim that Rabbi Lazar was absorbing, it protected everybody around him. Nobody died earlier than he was supposed to. Kulu Shnei Yisur the Rebbe, the ground was self-irrigating, and therefore it never had to rain. Rain is so bad, it disrupts our lives, it disrupts our travels, disrupts our going out. It's very disruptive. Like a day of din. So it didn't have to rain in Rebbe's days. Can you imagine it never rains, yet all the fruit grew beautifully? If rain wasn't so needed, it's such a hassle. The Rabbanon would have already poiled ois, it shouldn't rain anymore. When they would pull a root vegetable out of its place where it's planted, pugla is a tznoin, it's a radish. Rashi says, have a kaima bira malimayla. When they pulled it out, the whole left was full of water. In other words, the ground was so well irrigated, it didn't require rain. Ikla Rebbe, the only person who didn't like Rebbe, probably manufactured umbrellas. He probably didn't like Rebbe so much. Ikla Rebbe, unless of course they were people there from China who like to use umbrellas when it's sunny as well. And it's, or that's right. Ikla Rebbe la'asrei the Rebbe Lazar B'Shimon. Rebbe, it seems like after Rebbe Lazar B'Shimon was gone, Rebbe reached the place where Rebbe Lazar B'Shimon was. Kiva just logged on and reminded me. Hayoim shloishim yoim shehem arba shavuos u'shnei yomim lo'imer. They told him, Yesh loy ben. He asked them, Yesh loy ben la'oiset tzaddik. Does Rebbe Lazar B'Shimon have a surviving son? They told him, Yesh loy ben, and he's such a good-looking person. Listen to this: V'chol zoyna sheniskeres b'shnayim. Any zoyna that, let's say, charges $200, she would want him so much. Soich rasoy b'shmoina. She would pay him $800. Now this is funny because the girsa changes from shmoina to arba. She wouldn't pay him $800. She would pay him $400. I would just like to know what exactly is the shaila between if your guy is shmoina or if your guy is arba. I was just wondering because usually there's a reason for the girsa change. I wasn't quite able to get down to the bottom of Vasap and Shmoina Arba, but whatever it is, he was very, very in demand. So what happened was he knew that this child is a child that's in grave danger because of who was lusting after him. So Asya Asmachei Berebi. The first thing he did is he gave him smicha and he called him a Rebbe. Now it gives him stature and he realizes I can't just be anybody. Because I'm a somebody now, I have to behave myself. I believe that's what Rashi says. Rashi says, when you read Rashi inside, Rashi's going to Shmoina. Asmachei Rebbe, should you karnai Rebbe? It's angefeared that they should call this boy Rebbe. Kidesha Yiskane v'Yosam Liba al Talmud Torah. This way he'll have to. Amusha Yiskane means he should be jealous of himself. In other words, he should realize I'm a Rebbe. I gotta live up to my name. And then what he did was he took him and he gave him over to a Rebbe to teach him Torah. But Ashlamei l'Rab Shimon ben Isi ben Lakunya, who was Achva the Ime. So his mother's brother. Now Rebbe Lazar B'Shimon's, I don't know who Rebbe Lazar B'Shimon's wife was, but his wife had a brother and whose name was Shimon ben Isi ben Lakunya, and Rebbe took this child and gave him to Reb Shimon to be mechanechem to raise him. So Kol Yoima, he left the city, he missed his mother. Kol Yoima v'Omar likir Yosy on the Ezel. I want to go home. I want to go to my city. Amr Lei, they told him, I don't understand. Why would you want to go back to your city? Chakim Abdu Yasach. We made you into a Talmid Chacham. We're giving you the greatest opportunity that one can have. And the Gulso did have a partial life. We've given you a golden coat. In other words, we made you into royalty. The Rebbe Korulach, we call you Rebbe. The at amart likriyasi on the ezel, and you want to go home. Think about it from a mature perspective. This is the best for your future. Omerle, he said, you're right. Mumi, I'm making a shvua azuvada. I'm no longer going to bring up that I want to go home. I accept that this is my place. Kigodal, when he grew up, also he came, Yosef and the Rebbe, he came into the Besmedish of Rebbe. Rebbe was the catalyst for his greatness. Shami Lakale, Rebbe heard the voice of this young man. Amar, Hi Kala Dami Lakala the Rebbe Lazar Shimon. This voice of this new Talmud sounds very much like Rebbe Lazar Shimon used to sound. Amar, I told him, it makes sense. Bareyu, it's his son. Kari Alei, so Rebbe felt very, very good that in his chus, this child ended up steiging. He rescued a child. Zok to Gemara, Kari Alei, pre tzaddik, the child of a tzaddik, eitz chayim, referring to this child, and someone who takes nefashos, meaning someone like myself, I'm a lamdei Torah. No, sorry, someone like Reb Shimon, his uncle who took him in, I'm a lamdei Torah. Lekech nefashos chacham, he's a chacham. Pri tzaddik eitz chayim, ze Rabbi Yosy, Rabbi Lazar B'Shimon. So now we know the name of this child was Rabbi Yosy. Rabbi Lazar B'Shimon's son name was Rabbi Yosy. By the way, did anybody notice in Miron, is he buried there? No. There's Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Lazar B'Shimon. We're soon going to see Rabbi Yosy did not get in. He didn't make the cut. So Zer Rabbi Yosy, Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon. Lekech nefashos chacham, Zer Rabbi Shimon ben Nisi ben Lakunya, because he literally gave life into this Rabbi Yosy, who would not have stagged if it wasn't for Rabbi Shimon stepping in. Gewaltig. Enoch nafshek. When Rabbi Yosy died, Amtula and Irasa Davua. They wanted to take him to Miron, like everybody, like his father and his grandfather. But the same issue. Have a hadul achnal marasa. The snake was wrapped around it, wouldn't let anybody in. Well, my lady, they told him, Achna, snake, psach picha, v'yikanis ben etzalovit, loy paschalu. He didn't open up for them. Kisfurim the oilim thought if they're not letting him in, it must be loymar shezeh gadol mizeh. Obviously, Rabbi Lazar B'Shimon was much greater than Rabbi Yosy. Rabbi Yosy wasn't of merit to be able to be buried in Miron. Yotza Baskal v'Amra, no. Loy mipnei shezeh gadol mizeh, elazeh hoya b'tzar Myra. You know why Rabbi Lazar got in to Miron? He got into Miron because he was with his father in the Myra. It was that special tsar that he had, that schus that he had, that got him in there. He might be a very special choshev yid, but he was not in the Myra, and therefore Shnischabu Sham, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Rabbi Lazar no Yud Gimel Shana, he wasn't there. He doesn't have that schus, and therefore he will not be allowed there. Does anybody know where he is buried? You know where Rabbi Yosy ben Rabbi Lazar B'Shimon is buried? Rabbi Shimon Chazaynikel. Gezok Gemara weiter. Ikla Rebbe Lazar der Tarfim. It seems like Rebbe made a habit of this, of finding children that were at risk and giving them opportunity to rejuvenate their Yiddishkeit. So Ikla Rebbe Lazar der Tarfim. Amalahu, he asked them, Yesh loy ben la'oisay tzadik shoy mekapech esbana. Maybe there's a son to Reb Tarfon who is known to smash his children. What does that mean? Reb Tarfon smashed his children. So let's see what Rashi says. Rashi says, "Mekapech so Yurago Leimer used to constantly say, "Akapecha b'spani," when he would swear, "If this isn't true, I'll smash my kid." So Reb Tarfon used to beat his kids around, at least figuratively. Does he have any children? In other words, Rebbe suspected that maybe Reb Tarfon's children might have suffered from trauma because of what their father kept on saying. Right, he used to swear on their life. Yeah. So Amrulay told him, Ben Einla, he doesn't have a son, but Ben Bas Yeshla, he has an Einakul, who's the son of his daughter. And he's also extremely good looking. The Chazoyna Shen Iskeres Bishnayim, Seichroisa Bishmaina. Asyula Kamei, you could see the same base that changes Shmoyna to Arba over here, changed it to Rabbi Yosy. I guess they didn't want either one to be jealous of each other. So if they're going to change one, they're going to change both. I'm not sure. Anyway, Asiyula Kamei, Amalei, they told him, if you come do tshuva, you come learn Torah, Yahivna Loch Bartoi, I'm going to give you my daughter. So Rebbe said, I will take you, Reb Tarfon's Einakol, as an Eidim, if you nemzach some learning. Other way, he actually came back to learning. Ikadami nosfach yirsha. There are those who hold that he married her, but it didn't work out anyway. And Ikadami loy nosfach klal. He didn't marry her at all. Kidei shelo yoimru b'shvil zu chazor zeh. Didn't want people to say, yeah, he didn't really want to become Yiddish. He didn't want to really become Erlich. He didn't want to learn. He only did it for her. So you might ask, didn't Reish Lakish do precisely that? So now we can go back to the Tosfos that discusses Reish Lakish, and the Tosfos that discusses Reish Lakish says right over here, the Kaman Muchach, the Nosva de Ka'amar, also it means he really married her. Kaman Muchach the Nosva. Here in Reish Lakish's case, we know for sure he married her. Why? The Ka'amar also achse the Kabachi Kamei, right? So clearly, Reish Lakish did marry the sister of Rabbi Yochanan, but for some reason, v'loy chash l'shem yoimru b'shvil zu chazer zeh k'dechayish l'kaman. So Tosfos points out that Reish Lakish wasn't choshesh. Why he wasn't choshesh? I don't know, but he wasn't choshesh. Anyway, so let's see the Gemara weiter. So Rebbe's, so Tarfin's enical became now a choshev ingaman. Why is why is Rebbe so busy running around finding children at risk and bringing them back? Well, what's going on over here? Sagt Gemara, the Omar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, Amar Lo Amar Rab Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Lo Amar Rab Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yonasan, Kol Hamalamed as Ben Chaverei Torah. Anyone who teaches the son of his friend Torah, Zoiche v'Yoshev v'Yeshiva Shel Maila, he'll be Zoiche to sit in Yeshiva Shel Maila. Shenemar im Tashuv. If you teach somebody Torah, then Vashivcha, and it works, then Lefonai Tamo, you'll stand in front of me, you'll be Zoiche to sit in the Yeshiva Shel Maila. But there's even a higher madrega than Stam being a Malamed teaching Ben Chaverei Torah. V'chol Malamed is Ben Hamaoretz Torah. But if you teach the son of an Hamaoretz Torah, in other words, someone who would otherwise not have naturally went into the path of Torah, that's a much higher madrega. Afilu HaKadosh Baruch Hu goizer gzeira. Even if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is goizer gzeira on Klal Yisrael, mevatla b'shviloi, somebody who's oisik in bringing back Yiddish Kindlech to Yiddishkeit, who were on a different trajectory, he has such a power that he can overrule a gzeira of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Shenemar v'im toitzi yakar mizoylel. If you take something beautiful out of something cheap, kefisia, you'll have a mouthpiece. You'll have a mouthpiece to be able to veto a gzeira of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Vosapis. So the Marsha says that it's midah keneged midah. I'll quickly look at this Marsha inside. It's midah keneged midah, that someone who is Isaac in bringing somebody who was on the wrong trajectory back to Yiddishkeit, such a person is going to have a veto power over the Rebbeinu Shalom Zeres. He says it right over here. Sorry. There it is. V'malamed bin Hamaoretz Torah shelafi gzeirasoi. According to his gzeira, in other words, where Hashem put him in life, he put him into a family where he's not going to be on that trajectory. Normally, people grow up to be like their parents. Someone who learns with such a person breaks their natural growth, their natural DNA. Therefore, Zoicha Gam came, Shakadosh Baruch Hu mevatel gzeirasoi b'shviloi. If you broke someone's path and you put him on a better path, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will break his path based on your request. You will be able to be mevatel my gzeres. Unbelievable power, unbelievable force. Yeah. Kol shehu Talmud Chacham, ubenoi Talmud Chacham, uben benoi Talmud Chacham. If you could pull it off to have 3 generations of Talmidei Chachamim, then you have it made in the shade. Shuv ein Torah per seconds mizaroi. Torah is going to come back. L'olam forever. Shenemar v'anizos brisi. We say this every day in Uvalot Zion. Lo yemushu mipicha mipizaracha mipizerazarecha. If that's what you can pull off, then Amar Hashem yatavadoila. Now you're made in the shade. My Amar Hashem, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Arav Lacha B'Davar. I'll be a Arav for you. What does it mean, Arav? It's because the father is the Malva, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the Arav to make sure that the Malva's child gets his pay. My me'atav adolam, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Mikan ve'elach. From here on, Torah machzeres al achsanya shelo. The Torah goes back to the achsanya. Rabbi Yosef Arben Tanisa, he fasted for 40 days. Why? To make sure that his children will be into Torah. Vakaryu, he called it lo yemushu mipicha. He was zoichet lo yemushu mipicha. Rashi teaches, I believe, the word vakaryu. No, he does not. But he did it so that his children should be able to learn. First step is 40 Tanaisim, because 40 Tanaisim is the amount of days that Moshe Rabbeinu went to be Mekabel the Torah. First step is 40 days, because when are we Mekabel the Torah? By Bar Mitzvah, by 13. 13 times 3 is 39. That's where the number 40 comes from. It's one less than 40. That cheshbon is relevant in just a moment. Then Yosef Arbam Tanisa Achrita Vakaryu, and they read for him the pasuk Lo Yamushu Mipicha Mipizaracha. That was the second generation. And then Yosef Meya Tanisa Achrina also Vakaryu Lo Yamushu Mipicha Mipizaracha Mipizerezarach. Amar, he said the kan veilach lo tzarichna. I don't have to because Torah machzeres alachshani shalom. So the 100 comes from I think the Mashal says the years at which somebody could be mechuyev kares, because it was just the first 2 doros. It didn't need so much, but the 100 were needed because it was doing much more. Let me see if I can remember. I can't remember. I'm actually looking it up because of it. So it says over here. The third one was clinching it. Have a boy Why? 100 is generally the largest shear. Reb Zera, Yosef, Gimel Pam Meya, or Reb Zera in a moment sat 3 times 100 Tanaisim, Lies Nena, Gimel Dvarim, Shabika Shalayim, to be answered for the 3 things that he asked for. Ve'ev Shemitam, where did he get 3 times 100? Ki Gimel Pam Meya, Betainis, Koil Shana Tamima, Chutz Mishabasas V'yam Tov. 300 is all of the days of a year besides Shabbos and Yom Tov, which are 54 days. Okay, Dr. Gemara Vayt. Reb Zera, he sold La'arid Yisrael. When he went there to Israel, here I'm going to need a little bit of help with this Gemara, so I should stay tuned. Yosef Meya Tanisa, he said 100 Tanisa, you know what? The Lishtakach Gemara Bavla Minoi. He wanted to learn new Torah's Eretz Yisrael. He didn't want to be busy and dizzy and confused with Torah's Bavel, which is much more confrontational. And Bavel needs to attack each other much more. In Eretz Yisrael, they learned it much more calm. They respected each other more. So his Torah's Bavel shouldn't mix him up that he won't be able to properly absorb Torah's Eretz Yisrael. Yosef Me'achrinisa said another 100. So Rabbi Elazar shouldn't die in his lifetime, and then v'naflin iluya milat tzibura. He knew after Rabbi Elazar would die, he would succeed him, and then he would be busy with running the tzibur, and he wouldn't be able to learn. So he didn't want that to happen. And the Yosef Me'achrini de Gehinnom. He didn't want the Or of Gehinnom to be shaylut on him, and he used to test himself. Called Talson Yoim every 30 days. Have a badik b'nafsha. He would test himself. Shagar tanura. He would light up a fire. Solok, he would climb the Yosef, he would sit in it. Veloy have a sholta beinura. It worked. Yoim echad, one day Yavu bei Rabbanon Eina. And this is, I don't know what this means. Rabbanon looked at him, and because of that, I'm sorry? It's Ein Hara. Oh, there's Ein Hara. The Ichrechu Shake, his thighs got singed, got burnt. And Reb Zera was known to be short. So he used to call him the Karele Cotton Charek Shake. The shorty with burnt thighs. That was Reb Zera's nickname. Okay? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amarav. My dechsiv. Steht in Pasuk. Mia ish hechacham V'yavein zoy. So who's going to be the wise man to understand this? Vasher dvar pi, vasher diber pi Hashem Elav. That Kadosh Baruch spoke to him. V'yagida should tell us alma of the haaretz. Why did Kadosh Baruch Hu create a korban? Davar zeh, very famous Gemara we're about to learn. Amru chachamim v'loy pershu, which refers to Mia Isha Chacham in the pasuk. Amru Nevi'im v'loy pershu. Nevi'im it says Asher diber pi Hashem Elav. That's referring to Nevi'im. Asher pershu Kadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmo shneimar b'yomer Hashem al ozom mistayrasi. They abandoned my Torah. Asher nesati lefneim that I put in front of them. What do you mean? They abandoned? They're learning Torah. They didn't make birchas haTorah Asher nosan lanu Asher bocher banu. They didn't say. And Rashi says v'chivid lo barchi galu datayu she'eina matana chshuv lahem. It's not. They don't appreciate it. They didn't think it was anything special. Amar Rab Chama, my dechsiv believe novain in the heart of a smart person. Tanuach chachma will be quiet. Will be careful, solemn, but in the insides of psilim of fools, tivada. Anyone who has a little bit of knowledge, everyone's going to know about it. Believe novain tanuach chachma zet tamid chacham and tamid chacham. He keeps things quiet. B'karev psilim tivada zet tamid chacham and tamid oretz. That he wants to show off how much he knows, so he's always talking. Amarula Hanid Amar Inchi, that's what the Velt says. Istir Belagina, if you only have one little coin in a pushka, kish curry. It makes noise when you shake it. If you have a full pushka, it doesn't make noise when you shake it. Amalei Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zera. My deciv, Kotain, the Godol, Shemu. Someone's a Kotan or a Godol, that's obvious, that's not changeable. But the Eved, Chav Shimei Adon. And the Eved is free from his other. What does this mean? Atu lo yadina the cotton the gadol shemu. We don't know that cotton the gadol is noticeable. It's not changeable. It's obvious. Elakola maktin atmoy al divrei Torah. The pasuk is trying to tell us a message. If you make yourself small to understand Torah, nasa gadol. And the next step is eved. Eved al divrei Torah. But if somebody makes himself even lower, like an eved that'll do anything to learn Torah, he'll be a free man, he'll be king over there. The Rabbanim. Rish Lakish worked for the Asher Kedisha. He used to mark the Kevarim of the Rabbanon in order to keep people away from them. They shouldn't become Tomei. I believe that's what Rashi says. It's to protect the Yidden from becoming Tomei. So they didn't want that through the Kever of a Tzaddik, a coin should become Tomei. This opens up a whole shaila because they're old that the Kavarim with the Tzaddikim, big Tzaddikim, a coin doesn't become Tomei. But Rashi says varies, even the grave of a Tzaddik. So the way Rish Lakish worked, he worked very much like the Arizal. He didn't have a map. He had a sensor in his head that he knew where the Kedusha was. Have a Metzia my Rasa de Rabbanon. Kimata le my Rasa de Rabchia, when he tried to find Rabchia's caver exact location, he couldn't find it. His metal detector wasn't buzzing. Couldn't find it. Cholish Dati, he felt bad. Why am I not Zoicha to locate the caver of Rabchia? He told him, you know I heard of it in learning, like Rabchia. So Yatsa Baskal Varmaloi, Torah Kamoisei Pilpalta. But Torah Kamoisei Lo Rivatsta. You didn't teach Torah like Rabchia taught Torah like nobody else. And this is one of the most famous Gemaras. Kavaminter Rab Chanina Rabchia. When Rab Chanina and Rab Chia would argue, Amr le Rab Chanina Rab Chia, Rab Chanina to Rab Chia, Ba'adadi Kamintis. You're arguing with me. You know who I am. Chas v'sholom im yishtakra Torah mi Yisrael. Chas v'sholom, if Torah would be lost from Klal Yisrael, Madrana la mipilpuli. With my pilpul, I would be able to recreate the halachas that we forgot. Because with the remaining Torah, the pilpul will figure out what we're missing. Only Rav Chia, I have a much better you. Rav Chanina about the Dikamintis, the Abdi the Torah lo tishtakach Yisrael. I'm going to avoid the problem in the first place. Maya Vidna, what did he do? Azlina, I went, the Shadina Kisna, and I planted flax. And when they grew, Vigadilna Nishbi, I wove nets, Vitzayatna Tfi, and I captured deer, Umachilna Bisrael Yasme, and I served the meat of these deer to Yisraelim. Va'arichna megilta, and with its hide I made cloth. V'chasavna, and I wrote on it chamishe chumshe Torah. V'salikna lamasa, I went to the city. Umakrina Chamisha Yanuki, the Chamisha Chumshi. I gave each one of my Chamashim and I taught them Torah. Umasnizo, you don't write down that Torah Shavapeh. Shita Yanuki, she said Shudri. And then I took a break and I told him, when I go away till I get back, you know what I want you to do? I want each of you to share what you learned with the other children. Akra Adodi, the Asno Adodi, and that, the Torah, the Lord Ishtakach Yisrael. I need Amar Rebbe, how great are the Maisim of Chia? Amar Le Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yosy, Afilu Mimar, is he even greater than you? So who said this? Hani Amar Rebbe. Rebbe said, yeah, even greater than Rebbe. Amar Le, yeah, he's even greater than me. In Afilu Mi'aba, even greater than my father. Amar Le Chas V'Shalom, I take Kadosh B'Shalom. That I'm not saying. So Frek the Gra, there's a lot of Torah to say on this shtickle, but we're in a rush. Frek the Gra, I don't understand. Why can't he go to Miriam's Svarim store and buy Chamashim and give him out and we can learn? Zok to Vilna Goyin. The only way the Torah will have Kiyam if we're 100% sure one penny of not kosher, not erlich money. If you buy a safer in the store, how do you know there was no lending in ribis to build a printing company? How do you know that the typesetter was having right kavanas when he did things? There's so many things. How do you know there was not any overcharging? How do you know that there's no isser mixed in over here from the time where they chopped the wood down to the paper mill? You don't know what's going to happen. There could be so many isur mixed in, and that will not allow Torah to have kiyum. Rav Chia needed to control the entire supply chain, because when you control the entire supply chain, you can make sure everything is pure from the source, and only pure from the source Torah is everlasting. He probably had to make it himself. Yeah, in those days, they did everything himself.
Sounds to me like a pitch of Shmura Matzah.
I hear. I'm over there. We got to move. It's very late. I'm over there. Emesh near Ali Rabbi Yosy Bechadina. I told him. So Rabbi Yosy, it was very funny in those days. This is norm. Last night, Rabbi Yosy Bechadina came to me in a dream. I asked him, who are you parked near? Like, what neighborhood are you in Olam Haba? Amr Li, Eitzel Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan Eitzel me, it's Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai Eitzel me, it's Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina Eitzel me, it's Rabbi Chia. Amar, I don't understand. Rabbi Yochanan Eitzel Rabbi Chia. Lloyd, what's wrong? Rabbi Yochanan was such a great person. Why couldn't he get near Rabbi Chia? Amr Li, you kidding me? The Aser, the Kukin, the Nura, Uba Urin, the Asha. Do you know what's going on over there? By Rabbi Chia, there's sparks and glares and flares and all these electrical beams. The Asha, a fire. Man ma'ayel bar nafcha. Who's going to bring Rabbi Yochanan, who was known as bar nafcha, because Rabbi Yochanan was the son of a blacksmith. There's no way he can get near that kedusha that's going on by Rabbi Chia. Amar Rav Chaviva, Ishtoi li Rav Chaviva bar Surmaki. Rav Chaviva bar Surmaki told me the following story. He once met somebody. So someone told me that he met somebody. He met somebody who Eliyahu Hanavi used to come to him regularly, and he saw something funny about this guy. In the morning, he had perfect, bright blue eyes. At night, his two eyes looked like they were burnt out by fire. So Amr asked him, "Hi, what happened to you?" I'll tell you what happened. I told Eliyahu Hanavi, can you show me the Rabbanim, the great Rabbanim, when they go into the Mesivta de Rakia, whatever that means? Amrli, he told them, you could look at all of the great titans of Torah that are going into Mesivta de Rakia. Don't look at Reb Chia's shine. Don't look there. As Biden said, don't. How am I going to know when not to look? Because of the Kulu, Azlu Malachi, Kisalki Benachsi. By all of the Gedolim, when they go into Mesivta de Rakia, there's malachim going up and down. Levar miguhad to Reb Chia, the benafshe sol. He goes in by himself. He doesn't need malachim to help him. So when you see someone without malachim, you better not look. Look when but I couldn't control myself. It's tackled by did look, and also trey butete dinura. 2 beams of fire came out. 2 laser beams came out. Umachiyul ahu gaver blinded my eyes. It blinded me. Lamacher Osli. The next day I went. Shtatki Amarte. I went to the kever of Reb Chia. I guess eventually Rish Lakish did find it. Amina, I said, Masnisa the Mar Masnina, I learned your Mishnayos. I heard of a Reb Chia over your Torah. And this story, and then that was healed. Eliyahu v'shchiach v'mesivta Rebbe. Eliyahu used to hang out in Rebbe's yeshiva. Yom echad reish yar chava. One day it was Rosh Chodesh, and Havanagalei v'lo yasa. He came late. Amalei. So Rebbe went to Eliyahu. I don't care if you're a malach. Why are you late? My time anagalei lamar. Why are you late? Amalei. I'll tell you why. You know what work I have to do, chores I have to do before I can come down from Shemayim to Seder. First of all, I got to wake him up. Umashina yodei, and give him wash him negel vaser. Umatzli, I got to daven with him. Umagnino, and then I put him back to bed. V'chein yitzak, v'chein Yaakov. You know how much time it takes? So the Rishiva asked, "Look, minu, why can you do it all together?" Oh, we can never let him get up all together. Savri, Takvi, Barachami, they'll have such koyach with their tefillah that if they daven together, it'll overrule their Shemayim, Mashiach, and they might cause Mashiach to come before the right time. Amalei, so Rabbi asked him, tell me, are there such greats in Olam Hazeh that could also pull this off? Amalei, sure. Ikar Reb Chia Ubana. Reb Chia and his children, if they daven together, they could force Mashiach. So you know what Rabbi did? Simple. Gozer Rabbi Tanisa. He was Gozer a tiny shiva for everybody, and therefore he insisted that Reb Chia and his children come to daven in shul with the oilam by the tiny shiva. And what happened was, Chia Ubana said, Masha v'ruach, and when they said Masha v'ruach, but Nosh v'zika, the wind started blowing. They said Murad Geshem, Vasamid started to rain. They're about to get up to when they were getting close to say Mechayim Mesim, the whole world started to shake. Amri Birakia in Shemayim, they said, Man Goli Razio Balma. Who said over the secret that the Bnei Reb Chia could force Mashiach? So Eliyahu, like meekly said, it was me. Amr Eliyahu, they said it must be Eliyahu. Only Eliyahu could have done that. Ashir Eliyahu, Machyua, Sheetan pulse of the Nura. They beat him with 60 blasts of fire. Again, we don't understand what this means. And Eliyahu had to stop it because he was the one who caused this danger. He had to stop it. So also Idmul Keduva the Nura, he dressed up like a bear of fire and he barged through the Besmedrash and everyone panicked and everyone left. And he disrupted the tefillah, all beinayu v'tradinim. Shmuel Yachino, Shmuel, who is the famous Shmuel, but he also was actually an expert in calendars and dates. That's why he's called Shmuel Yachino. He had a lot of jobs. Achid Rebbe Hava. He was the official doctor of Rebbe. Chalash Rebbe Beini, Rebbe had some issue with his eye. Amalei, so Shmuel said, no problem, I have a remedy for you. Imli loch sama, I'll make for you, I'll concoct for you some shmirach you put into your eyes. Amalei lo yechilna. Rebbe said, it's too painful, I can't even put your ointment in my eyes. Ishtalach mishta, you know what I'll do? I'll put it into onto a shmata, onto a gauze pad, and we'll put it on it. No, we won't put it right into your eye. Amalei again lo yechilna, too painful. So what did he do? Have most of a gufsa this something. He put it into like a bag of samanim, and he put it in his pillow behind Rebbe's head. Taisi beisadja bisti. He put it under his head, and that was enough that the fumes of his medicine worked. Have a mitzdayer Rebbe lemismeche. Rebbe liked Shmuel so much, he wanted to give him smicha. He should have official smicha. Well, have a mitzdayer milsa. He was never able to make it happen. He was never able to make it happen. Whenever he tried to, they weren't chachamim. You need chachamim, a group of chachamim to put the smicha. He could never pull it off. For some reason, it just didn't work out. Amalei, so Shmuel said, don't worry about it. Loy l'star amar, you shouldn't feel bad that you can't do this. Because l'didi chazili sifra the Adam Arishon. I saw the sefer written by Adam Arishon. It was called USA Tomorrow. I don't know exactly what it was. It says in it, Shmuel Yachino. Shmuel will be an expert in dates and calendars. And I say expert in dates, I don't mean a shaftim. I mean an expert in calendars. Chachem Yiskari, he'll be called a great Chacham, but Rebbe lo Yiskari, and he won't be called a Rebbe. But also the Rebbe al Yadoi Tehei, and the healing of Rebbe will be through Shmuel. Okay, we'll stop here, and B'ez Hashem we will mamshach tomorrow with a beautiful, beautiful Gemara. This was today.
Thank you. You have a name, Yosy? Have a name for the year?
I'm waiting for you.
The Torah Hotel.
What's that?
I like the Terach Sinai is the big deal. that the Torah
Torah
goes
Sinai?
around looking for people. It says a lot. There's also Gilui Eliyahu, right?
So what should we call it?
I like
I mean, well, you could say, what could you buy? What could you sell for 200 and buy for 800?
No, I knew you were.
Gewaltig. Gewaltig. Did you have what I meant by USA Tomorrow? USA Today is a newspaper.
Yeah, I know that.
But if someone writes about the future, it's called USA Tomorrow. So the Sefer of Adam Rishon will be called USA Tomorrow. It's about the future.